I seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas, especially senior devotees, so that we can do some service to these wonderful verses of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srila Prabhupada's wonderful purports, for my own purification and for the pleasure of Vaishnavas and Guru Parampara. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this is Chaitanya Charitamrita beginning, Adi Leela. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is in this chapter explaining who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And to explain who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, first he wants to explain that Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Alladini Shakti Rasmat, that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna together. And to tell that, then Kaviraj Goswami describes Srimati Radharani and Krishna. And then Kaviraj Goswami is explaining the three Shaktis of Krishna. Or actually, to put it precisely, it is only one internal potency, Antaranga Shakti, also known as Swarupa Shakti. So one spiritual energy doing three different types of functions. So then Kaviraj Goswami telling the three different types of functions done by this one spiritual energy. That is, three different types of functions is Sandhini Shakti, Samvit Shakti and Halladini Shakti. Now, this subject which we are going to discuss today may sound a little technical, lot of technical details and less of story and less of personal lessons also. So sometimes, and now 3 days festival is just over, we are still, in half asleep mode, still recovering from the tiredness. So, but still it is very important to try to understand this subject. Why? Because Krishna himself says in Gita 4.9, anybody remembers which is the shloka? Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvada. Aage? Janma. So Krishna himself says, and Srila Prabhupada said this verse, top 3 verses which Srila Prabhupada said, one of the 3 is this. In his lectures, Srila Prabhupada said this verse, Janma karma cha me divyam, that if we understand Krishna's Janma, karma, his personality, just by understanding that, we will attain spiritual platform, go back to Krishna. And all of us, we want to go back to Krishna, needless to say. So that is why understanding Krishna is very important. Because if we don't understand Krishna properly, then even the chanting which we do, the basic practice which we all do every morning 2 hours, the best part of life is that morning hours, we give those 2 hours to chanting. The chanting also remains very hollow, empty. So, but we understand Krishna, that he is spiritual and he is controller and he is everlasting. So then we also little bit develop our interest for spiritual life, for Krishna, and remove ourselves or withdraw ourselves from the material absorption. Because somewhere when we understanding Krishna, down the line we begin to understand Krishna is actually the Vastava Vastu. And if I connect with Krishna, then only my existence becomes worthy, substantial. Otherwise I am just going through repeated birth and death, collecting those things whole my life and then one day to give it up all. So whatever I could try to prepare by doing folio search what all Srila Prabhupada has spoken about Sandhini Shakti. So I tried to collect it, to try to understand somewhat. And then we will see in the second part of our discussion how the most important part of this purport is Srila Prabhupada's simple word here, that the devotee can perceive the name, fame, qualities of the Lord through his service attitude. So this is the take-home point, or this is the application point for ourselves. This we will discuss in the second section of our discussion. And in the third section, little bit we will see from Srila Prabhupada's life, how he always lived on that platform of Vishuddha Sattva. So text 64 mentions that the essential portion of Sandhini potency is Shuddha Sattva. Right? So Shuddha Sattva means what? Goodness without passion and ignorance. Correct? Not correct. So the goodness which is there in the material world, it is completely different thing. Because the goodness of this material world is always prone to be tinged with passion and ignorance. So these three modes of nature, above this, another fourth different thing is, that is Vishuddha Sattva, in which there is no possibility of any tinge of passion or ignorance, even goodness also. That is spiritual platform, Vishuddha Sattva platform. So the essence of Sandhini is Vishuddha Sattva existence. Means whatever is manifested by Sandhini Shakti is on the Vishuddha Sattva platform. Sandhini Shakti manifests Krishna's form. So this statement may look like, okay, Krishna depends on somebody. It's not like that. Krishna without Sandhini Shakti also can manifest. He is God, he is absolute truth. But he uses this energy of his own. Alright? So Sandhini Shakti manifests Krishna's form and everything else in the spiritual world. Even the dham, even the parents of Krishna, the friends of Krishna, the trees in the spiritual world. Practically everything in the spiritual world is manifested from this Sandhini Shakti. And the last line of the purport, Srila Prabhupada is also telling that this Sandhini Shakti also causes, in the Maya Shakti section, division of this Sandhini Shakti manifests this material world, where we are affected by three modes of material nature. But nothing of this material world affects spiritual world, or Krishna, or his parents, or his pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada. So how to understand that one Chit Shakti or one Swarup Shakti, Antaranga Shakti, is working in three different functions? Right? Little difficult. So Srila Prabhupada gives in Brahma Vimohan Leela purports, one of the last purports which Srila Prabhupada wrote, a very beautiful example of a machine. Let us say those who have studied engineering, in your first year of engineering you may have seen lathe machine, right, to turn an iron piece into some usable tool, right, by the different functioning of the machine. Or for other devotees who have not done engineering, even they can also remember any machine, like in our Deities we have sometimes juice making machine, right? Every part of big machine is iron, right? But all parts, although made of the same iron, but they do different functions conjoined together to complete the work of the machine. Right? Nice example. Srila Prabhupada's example ki jai. So, although there are different parts, some part we may call wheel, some part we may call screw, another part we may call spindle, but they are all made of same thing, iron, but they do different functions. Similarly, Antaranga Shakti, although Shakti is one, not three different Shaktis, no. Shakti is one, but the different functions the same Shakti performs. And the first function is Sandhini Shakti, first aspect of this internal potency. First aspect is Sandhini Shakti, which manifests Krishna's form and dham and everything. Sandhini portion of Krishna's internal potency has manifested the all-attractive form of Sri Krishna, and the same internal potency in the Hladini feature has presented Srimati Radharani, who is the attraction for the all-attractive. Now, we also have heard somewhere that Lord Balaram comes as the dham, the paraphernalia, everything. And here we are understanding that Sandhini Shakti manifests everything. And how to reconcile? So I also had this question. Fortunately, while doing my folio search, I came across Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, chapter 1 purport, where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur clarifies this matter. SriSriRadhaRasbihariTemple, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Shri Narasimha Dev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So, Shri Saraswati Thakur writes, Sri Nityananda Prabhu is the predominating deity of the Sandhini energy. And the same thing is spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself in the 4th chapter of Chaitanya Bhagavat, when Mahaprabhu says, glorifying Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya says, you are the full manifestation of Lord's energy and the personification of Sandhini Shakti. Right? And then Mahaprabhu says another important statement, just by serving you, a living entity's propensity for serving Krishna is awakened. So here Mahaprabhu is telling the secret, that by serving the spiritual master, all the spiritual masters are coming from Nityananda Prabhu. So by serving Nityananda Prabhu, by serving his representative, our spiritual master, his instructions, that is the only way to understand spiritual platform. So because the entire spiritual world, Aprakat Dham, with all its residents and innumerable pastimes, the Dham, the residents and the activities of the Dham, they are all meant for Krishna's pleasure. The end goal to achieve is Krishna's pleasure. That is why the pleasure potency of the internal potency, right? That is Hladini Shakti, is considered the highest. That is why. So first is Sandhini Shakti, and higher than that is Samvid Shakti, by which Krishna knows himself and we know Krishna, we know ourselves, we know Krishna. Samvid Shakti, and the highest is Hladini Shakti, because Hladini Shakti gives pleasure to Krishna. So this is mentioned by Srila Shivaram Swami Maharaj in one of his books called Krishna Sangati. So now we will see how not to understand this subject of Lord, his energy, the Vishuddha Sattva platform. How not to understand. So in the Brahma Vimohan Leela, we see when at one point Lord manifested himself as all the cows, cowherd boys also, right? And Brahmaji was surprised. I stole away all the boys, but now I came back and I am seeing that they are all here, right? And then he saw the next scene, that all those millions of cowherd boys, they turned into four-handed Vishnu forms. And then Brahmaji couldn't understand. And all of them, they become Vishnu forms. All on the Vishuddha Sattva platform. So how one small boy can expand into so many forms, and that too all Vishuddha Sattva platform? So Shukadeva Goswami mentions a word, Iresha. Iresha. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport I will read these few lines, very nice. Ira means Brahma in this verse 10:13:57. Brahma is referred as Iresha. Prabhupada writes further. Ira means Saraswati, the goddess of learning. And Iresha is her husband Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma therefore is most intelligent. But even Brahma, the Lord of Saraswati, was bewildered about Krishna. Although he tried, he could not understand Krishna. So what to talk of our paltry intelligence, feeble capability. Even Brahma, who is the most intelligent person, Srila Prabhupada is telling, most intelligent person, even he is bewildered when it comes to understanding Vishuddha Sattva. So we should not try to understand Vishuddha Sattva platform by downloading many books from the internet and then trying with our own intelligence. Last month His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj spoke on text 61-62. I was sitting, and throughout the class, as far as I can remember, Maharaj only gave one personal application for all of us. Maharaj said this long purport closely follows an essay of Srila Jiva Goswami on this subject in Bhagavat Sandarbha. And then Maharaj was telling how Srila Prabhupada has distilled that for our ease of understanding. And then Maharaj was telling devotees needlessly not go to previous many acharyas, commentaries and explanations, because nor do we have that much time, or nor are we so much philosophically educated from childhood in a proper parampara. We will become bewildered. That is why even Bhagavatam also, so many commentaries, I think 11 commentaries are there on Srimad Bhagavatam. So on one verse only, if we have to study all the commentaries and understand and make a logical sequence of all the things, in whole day, in one day also we cannot do one verse, and then also we will be confused at the end of the day. Right? So we should know our adhikar. If Brahmaji ka adhikar is this, so it is very important that we stick to Srila Prabhupada's. We are not concerned with Bhagavatam. We are concerned with Srila Prabhupada's purports. Bhagavatam, each verse can have many meanings. Srila Prabhupada so many times used to say that my Guru Maharaj explained first verse of Bhagavatam in Dhaka, 3 months. So much is there in one shloka of Bhagavatam. But how much can we understand, and how much can we relate, and how much of that we can differentiate as philosophical information or preaching application and personal application? We are not even able to. I remember when earlier I used to read Prabhupada's purports, hardly I will ever find out what is personal application, what is preaching application, what is analogy. Every point looks equally important, and they all look like same. Like in a bucket of balls, a color-blind person, he will see all the balls the same. Whereas some balls are red, some are blue, some are, right? Different color. I remember once I went for my eyes checkup in a hospital. So they were going full checkup, so they were also checking color blindness. So they had a small book in which there are many different patterns, and they were telling me, read this. So I read it, okay, this is 5, this is 6, this is S. At the end I asked that, what is this? So simple. He said, for you it is simple, because you are not color blind. Go to the square, all dots, but the color of S dots is different, and the other dots color is different. But one who is color blind, he will not be able to read it. So I said, what is this so easy? They said, you are okay. That is why for you it is easy. But one who is colorblind, he will not be able to read. And that is how we will understand that he is colorblind, and then we'll mark in his certificate that he is colorblind. So I was like that, even now also largely, while reading Srila Prabhupada's purports. Srila Prabhupada's purports, Srila Prabhupada has presented so painstakingly, laboriously, making such high, lofty spiritual concepts so easy, just like we discussed the example of that machine. How to understand with our dull intelligence that one energy can function in 3 different ways, completely different. So, and Srila Prabhupada can give us such a relevant example. Even a village devotee working in DT department, making juice for the Lord, can understand. Yes, this machine I can see. And there is spindle, different things are there, all made of iron, but working differently. So Srila Prabhupada has so painstakingly put things so simply. Still we struggle to understand with all of our education and university degrees and everything. So what we will understand Acharyas? Unless and until you are specifically ordered and blessed by spiritual master, what we will understand of Acharya's commentary and all that? So we are not concerned much with Bhagavatam even. We are concerned with Bhaktivedanta purports. And what Srila Prabhupada wants for us to understand and to practice. Last month we were having Bhakti Vaibhav course. His Grace Vamshivardhan Prabhu had come. And Prabhuji was very importantly, very interestingly also reminding us that Srila Prabhupada has clearly told that after me, GBC will be my representative. And whatever GBC says, that is final. Then Prabhuji said, what does this mean? What does this mean? This means what GBC is telling us is Srila Prabhupada telling us. We have to take it so seriously. Right? And Srila Prabhupada is telling here that these concepts are very difficult to understand by our own scholastic endeavors. Just because I am very intelligent, I have a very high IQ, I have very high caliber, that will fail. One devotee, he was so scholarly that he will give the Vyas-Puja offering to his spiritual master, ISKCON devotee. He will give Vyas-Puja glory offering to his spiritual master in Sanskrit. 10-15 minutes he will speak pure Sanskrit, glorification in pure Sanskrit. That is not very difficult, but I am just trying to help us understand how scholarly he was. And he was professor in a very big country, very big university, doctorate professor. But later on, somebody told that he left ISKCON and left his spiritual master and started his own institute and everything. So we have seen many times this happen. So it's very important that we never forget the goal of life is not to understand the commentaries of Acharyas. The goal of life is to please a Premi Bhakta, to satisfy a self-realized spiritual master or our Param Guru Srila Prabhupada. That is the goal of life. Then this will be revealed. And that is our second section of the discussion. As Srila Prabhupada says in the purport. What? A devotee can perceive the form, quality and other features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his service attitude. The same thing Srila Prabhupada writes in Canto 3, Chapter 1, Text 31, purport. The internal potency is, however, easily understood, easily realized by the devotees of the Lord by dint of devotional service. Here also the purport Srila Prabhupada writes, through his service attitude. By an attitude of service, when we study Shastras, by an attitude of service, doing all the activities of our day. Service to whom? to our spiritual master, to our Guru Parampara, doing everything. His Holiness Bhakti Ratnakar Ambarish Maharaj had come 2-3 months ago, and I think in Vrindavan Hall Maharaj was glorifying His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. And I think the very first thing Maharaj said, that His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, before doing anything, he will find out, will this please Srila Prabhupada, my spiritual master? And if he is confident, yes, then no matter what, however difficult it may be, Maharaj will go into it and relentlessly take it to end. Nobody can stop him. Nothing else can stop him in this world. If he is confident once that this will please Srila Prabhupada, like building the main Delhi temple, so many difficulties were there. Jokingly once, Srila Jayadvaita Maharaj told His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, if you can make this temple, your ticket back to Godhead is confirmed. Because so difficult, so many difficulties were there. Of course, we know by developing the holy name, Ruchi for holy name, we go back to spiritual world. But Srila Jayadvaita Maharaj was telling, I am jokingly saying, that if you can make this temple up ready, your ticket back to Godhead is confirmed. So many difficulties. But because Maharaj was personally instructed by Srila Prabhupada, and there was no doubt that this will please Srila Prabhupada, Maharaj did it. And such a grand opening, Prime Minister of India came, I think first time ever in any ISKCON temple, and gave such a powerful, wonderful speech. And the Prime Minister was so much happy, so much confident of the activities of Maharaj and ISKCON, that His Grace Kamalochan Prabhu, now Srila Bhakti Padma Saurabh Prachar Swami Maharaj, was telling once, many years ago, he said, just one day before the opening of Delhi temple, the father of Kamalochan Prabhu had gone to meet even Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Prime Minister of India, to tell him to tell my son to come back. And these ISKCON people are bad. They have taken away my son, and they are all bad people, cheating people, etc., etc. Can you imagine? A father can go up to this limit. Prabhuji himself was telling, many years ago Maharaj was telling, that to this extent he went. And he told 10-15 minutes he told Atal Bihari Vajpayee many things. But still Atal Bihari Vajpayee was so convinced that ISKCON people are good because of dealings of Maharaj, everything. He said, no, I know ISKCON people, they are good people. They will not take your son like that. Whatever. Don't worry. And he came next day to open Delhi temple. So this is how His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, in the spirit of service to his Guru, everything he will do. And then Bhakti Ratnakar Ambarish Maharaj was telling that if some project or some seva, Maharaj is not very sure, will this really please Srila Prabhupada? Maharaj will wait. Ask many devotees, many of his god brothers, many other devotees, he will keep asking until he is very sure that this will please Srila Prabhupada. Until that time, it may take years, he will wait. Keep asking others, other devotees, proper disciples, friends, until he is very sure that this seva will please Srila Prabhupada. So we can learn from our great leaders, seniors, how to do everything in the spirit of service to Guru and Guru Parampara. And that is the way to understand this tough subject of Vishuddha Sattva. His Grace Nandanandan Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Stephen Knapp, he writes many articles. So in one of the articles on this subject, he is writing that sometimes people, they ask him this, that how to perceive Vishuddha Sattva, God, etc. How I was in the spiritual world, vagara. So then Prabhuji says, I tell them first, rise to the level in which you can understand your own eternal nature. And then you may just begin to get a glimpse of eternity of God. Very nice statement. I will read this again. Very important. Because see, here is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. We have a curiosity about some things. He is telling what Srila Prabhupada actually wanted from all of us. I tell them, first, rise to the level in which you can understand your own eternal nature. And then you may just begin to get a glimpse of eternity of God. And this is possible, rising to understanding our own internal nature. This is possible when we come to the platform of Sattva Gun. Just like aeroplane. Aeroplane cannot take off from where it is standing. It has to come to the runway. Then it can take off. Right? Similarly, wherever our consciousness is posted at present, quite possibly for me, only passion and ignorance, from that we have to, by the practices of Bhakti Yoga, we have to bring ourselves to the mode of goodness. And then Srila Prabhupada says, further steps will be automatically revealed. Several times Prabhupada says in his explanations, teachings, further steps, further progress will be revealed automatically once you come to the platform of goodness. Tada rajastamo bhava kama lobhadayaschaye chet eter anavidham sitam sattva prasidati. By doing the practices of Bhakti Yoga very rigidly, as mentioned in Shastra, by doing that, slowly will rise above Rajaguna and Tamaguna and be situated in the platform of goodness, where things will automatically begin to reveal. So, Srila Prabhupada mentions in one of his purports of Hamsa prayers very nicely. Although to extract fire from wood is difficult, but once extracted, that very same fire burns the whole wood. Similarly, to extract spiritual practices, spiritual consciousness, to commit to spiritual practices from the platform of passion and ignorance is very difficult. Like to rise up early in the morning, to complete our rounds in the morning, to remain awake in the Bhagavatam class. Although so much rain and technical subject and 3 days ka tiredness, but still pulling us out of passion and ignorance. If we can do that, it is difficult, surely. But if we can do that, then rest assured, this very small practices will act like fire and will burn away the 3 modes of material nature from our consciousness and post us completely on the Vishuddha Sattva platform. Nice analogy, right? So then, Srila Prabhupada, I will come to the last section of our discussion now, 5 minutes, that how Srila Prabhupada is telling us to be situated on this, to come to this Vishuddha Sattva platform, where we will begin to understand these things, is by chanting. Simply by chanting. Right? So Srila Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 22, shloka number 113. This is the shloka, Smartavya Satatam Vishnu, Vismartavya Najatuchit. That shloka, purport. Srila Prabhupada writes, one may have many duties, other duties, to perform for the spiritual master, as per his order direction. But he must first abide by the spiritual master's order to chant a certain number of rounds. Very important to note. You may have many services, all for Srila Prabhupada or spiritual master. But this is an order of Srila Prabhupada in the purport, that the first order, the first seva to complete is chanting 16 rounds. So if I have this habit of chanting 10 rounds only in the morning and remaining 6 in the evening or late afternoon, that habit has to be changed. We may reason, I am doing many other services for the pleasure of Guru and Prabhupada only. But it should not become an unnecessary habit. In the glorifications of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, His Holiness Prabodhananda Saraswati Swami Maharaj was telling that when he was initiated 40 years ago plus, one of the instructions he got from his Guru is, complete your rounds before you eat or drink or do anything else. He got this instruction from Maharaj. And then Srila Prabodhananda Maharaj said that till today I am following this instruction. Till today, 42 years later, he is still following this instruction. It's not easy. It's not easy. He is still following the instruction of Maharaj that first you complete your 16 rounds in the morning hours by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Srila Bhakti Dhir Damodar Maharaj was telling once here only that one who cannot complete his rounds by 7:15, don't take his association. He is fallen. You will also fall down. So this is the order of Srila Prabhupada. First we have to complete our 16 rounds. Yes, sometimes cooks and pujaris, they have to do their service in the early morning. That is necessary. But I was telling unnecessary. Postponable. All postponable things should be postponed. First complete 16 rounds. Srila Prabhupada is telling. And then Srila Prabhupada is telling in Adi Leela Purport 16.15 that we simply ask our Western students to chant at least 16 rounds a day. But sometimes we find they fail to chant even these 16 rounds. And instead they bring many austere books and a worshipping method that diverts their attention in so many ways. And because we have curiosity to know something which others don't know, to speak something which nobody speaks. So let me also see, Prabhu, which book you are reading. What is the special book I never saw? Let me share, let me also read it. This is direct instruction of Prabhupada in the purport of Adi Leela. That our students, they bring so many austere books. Prabhupada is working hard, waking up whole night for years, decades, to simplify everything. And Prabhupada is complaining what devotees do. They bring complex austere books and complex, worshipping methods only to divert their attention from the simple path of chanting Hare Krishna and hearing. Srila Prabhupada said, simple. Hear yourself chant sincerely. That's it. The entire spiritual world will manifest by following these 4 words. Hear yourself chant sincerely. This is exact words of Prabhupada. Not my paraphrasing, no. Exactly this is what Srila Prabhupada said. Hear yourself chant sincerely and design your life in such a way that you can chant nicely in the morning. Whole day should be lived in such a way that we can chant nicely. We can hear the sound vibration. And then Rajoguna Tamoguna will be slowly washed, gradually, slowly it will washed off. And will come to the platform of goodness, where everything will become slowly revealed by the mercy of spiritual master. Again Srila Prabhupada writes in Untitled Chapter purport 11.24, the first regulative principle is that one must chant Hare Krishna mantra loudly enough so that he can hear himself. Srila Prabhupada is telling how to chant. The first principle is to chant loudly enough that we can hear ourselves. And then, this is the first service Srila Prabhupada always said. Srila Prabhupada said, as long as we chant our 16 rounds, nobody can conquer us. in one of the purports of Chaitanya Charitamrita. I forgot where exactly. And letter 1972, letter Srila Prabhupada writes, within these simple processes of Krishna consciousness, I have invested, or the whole energy of Krishna conscious movement is there. In the simple 16 rounds, following four relative principles, following morning program, meditatively, Srila Prabhupada has given that process, how we can rise above everything. The dirt, the filth of material consciousness. And then we can understand. And we can see Srila Prabhupada living in his own life this. I was listening to a lecture by Shruta Kirti Prabhu while preparing this. So Prabhuji was explaining how Srila Prabhupada was conscious every minute of Krishna. Like Prabhupada will tell, the fan is, Prabhuji is telling, the fan is on, nobody is in the room. Why? Krishna's energy is getting wasted. Then Prabhupada will tell, you have done mopping the floor, right? Why you are using fan to dry the floor? Srila Prabhupada is so pakka that you should not use fan for drying the floor. You should mop the floor well in time so it dries naturally, right? So conscious, Srila Prabhupada. Even somebody will bang the door, Prabhupada will feel pain. That this is Krishna's money. If you bang the door, it will spoil. The hinges will spoil, or door closer will spoil. Then Prabhuji was telling, once devotees had booked Prabhupada in the first class while going to Australia. So Prabhuji said only 2 times Prabhupada had a very nice seat. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. The Prabhuji was telling that in this first class seat of aeroplane, Srila Prabhupada told Shruta Kirti Prabhu, why booking first class? Practically none of the services which they are offering me, I take. None of the services I take. And I am not so tall anyways to need a big seat. I am very short height. So why you should waste money on booking first class aeroplane seat? Right? Then Prabhuji was telling that I was serving Srila Prabhupada Prashadam in the aeroplane, and now this is first class. So every few minutes some stewardess will come, air hostess will come to ask, do you need anything? Can we serve anything? And at one point she came and then she offered to clean the plates of Prabhupada, and Prabhuji said, oh, I thought, chalo, some help at least. I gave happily. That's so nice. She will get blessings of Srila Prabhupada. And while deboarding the plane, that lady came in the bag, she gave all the silver plates, washed back to the Shruta Kirti Prabhu. And Prabhupada saw the plates are coming back now. Then Prabhupada understood that he has given to them to clean. And then Prabhupada asked him, and what happened to the prasadam? And then Prabhuji realized that not only it was Mahaprasadam brought by Madhu Divsa Prabhu from temple, the transit place, temple, it was Maha of Srila Prabhupada, my spiritual master. And mindlessly, unconsciously, I gave away the plates to the air hostess too. And she must have, quite possibly she has, thrown it away in the dustbin. And Prabhuji says, Srila Prabhupada was so angry. He said, you are a complete rascal. She might just throw in the dustbin all the prasadam. And then Prabhuji realized. So Prabhuji was explaining how Srila Prabhupada was conscious of Krishna every moment. I remember serving Srila Jayadvat Maharaj khichdi prasadam here in the guest house once in his room. And while serving, one drop of khichdi fell just before the plate of Maharaj. And I was telling while putting khichdi in Maharaj's plate, Maharaj, please wait, I will clean this. Please wait, you please don't clean. I was telling this, Maharaj just did not pay heed to any of my request. He extended his hand, wiped it with his forefinger, licked it, and looked at me. I was in complete, और हमारा पैर रखते हैं उधर हम. We keep our feet and Maharaj licked it. And then Prabhuji told, this is how Srila Prabhupada taught us. This is Krishna Prasadam. If it falls on the floor, just pick it up and take it. This is Krishna Prasadam. Then Prabhuji was telling another pastime of how Brahmananda Prabhu had taken a lot of rice once. Many times he used to take, and once he was throwing some of it. Prabhupada saw, Prabhupada said, 1 grain means 1 more birth. After that, Brahmananda Prabhu never left even 1 grain of rice on the plate. Our Vishnu Tattva Prabhu also, the way he takes prasadam, he cleans the plate as if he is starting the prasadam now, some devotee can use his plate instead. He wipes off everything. So like that, we can see Bhashanas of Srila Prabhupada, all devotees mention. I was recently listening Prabhupada remembrances. So Srimati Yamuna Mataji was telling that episode when they were installing in San Francisco, I believe, Jagannath's deities and the altar, because the pillars were not fixed to the top of the altar. One devotee happened to by mistake knock the pillar, and the top was about to fall on the deities. Or not, London I think. London. So how Srila Prabhupada ran to the altar. And Satsuru Maharaj mentioned, Mataji also mentioning it, unbelievably, he had the power of Bhima or something. He held the whole top and removed the crumbling pillar and protected the deities and shouted, take away this top. And every devotee was astonished. Srila Prabhupada is so old and fragile and weak. How can he hold the heavy top? So how Srila Prabhupada was conscious that the deities, they are Krishna. You can hear that lecture of Srila Prabhupada installing Radha Rukmini Dwarkadish, 1969, Los Angeles. Towards the end of the lecture, Srila Prabhupada breaks down, crying that, oh Lord, I have brought something insignificant. What can I bring? Please take it. And Prabhupada starts crying. And then Prabhupada says, never take cheaply. They are Krishna. They are Radha-Rasbihari. Swayam standing here. And Srila Prabhupada was very strict. I remember Adbhut Hari Prabhu was telling me once, many years ago. Srila Prabhupada has many pastimes. Very strictly he is telling, never show your back to the deities. So like that Srila Prabhupada is telling us consciously in our daily practices, being conscious of Krishna, following the rules and regulations given by Srila Rupa Goswami. I remember one lecture of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, given in late 90s in Pune, small temple. And repeatedly Maharaj, in the beginning of temple, is asking, is my back toward the deities? Devotees are telling, no. Sure, is my back towards the deities? Because the small temple in Pune, and they used to put the asana in one corner. And the partial, your partial back is kind of towards the deities. So much conscious Maharaj was. My back should not be towards the deities. I remember once we were asking questions to Maharaj here. And before we asked question, before starting the answer, Maharaj said, deities are there. We don't want to talk in front of them. Please don't mind. Let us come aside. Then Maharaj took us all to the side in this alley. And there Maharaj talked to all of us then. So they great souls, and Srila Prabhupada is teaching to very strictly and rigidly follow the rules and regulations given by Srila Rupa Goswami. For every small little thing, whether it is watering Tulsi, whether it is entering the temple of the Lord, you have to do two things. First, you have to be joyful in the remembrance of Krishna, and you have to make some noise while entering. Jai Radha-Rasbihari, or knocking the door, or the ghanti is there. I saw a few days ago His Grace Brajahari Prabhu, after removing his slippers, Prabhuji went few steps ahead to that ghanti and belled the ghanti. Right? Then only he entered the temple. I thought so many years in this temple only, right? Prabhuji has spent. What is the need for Prabhuji to bell the ghanti? Just go and so conscious that this has to be done. And then he came into the temple. So like that, 64 regulative principles are given and 32 offenses are given in the service of the Lord, in bhakti process, in NOD by Srila Prabhupada. So you have to consciously follow all of these. That is what Srila Prabhupada is telling in the purport. What? Huh? He can perceive this all through his service attitude. The attitude of Sharanagati, attitude of surrender towards Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada. We have to follow everything properly. Then slowly we'll come to this platform where we can understand, begin to understand a glimpse of eternity of Krishna. First, as Prabhupada also writes, the faint understanding. In the beginning, a faint understanding of Krishna will be there. But gradually as we fully attain the Vishuddha Sattva platform, actually you will realize Krishna as absolute proprietor of omnipotence, or prime predominating deity of Vishuddha Sattva of all potencies. Hare Krishna. So I stop here. We discussed about Sandhini Shakti. What is Sandhini Shakti? How it works in different ways. And is part of Krishna's internal potency. Then we try to understand how not to understand and how to understand these things. Not to understand, we discussed example of Brahmaji and some devotees who scholarly try to understand Krishna Tattva, which is not possible. But how we can understand is by the spirit of service. Srila Prabhupada himself telling so many places, this is how to understand. And then we lastly discussed how Srila Prabhupada wants us to begin understanding is by chanting Hare Krishna very properly. And then how Srila Prabhupada himself has attained that platform of Vishuddha Sattva in the Prakata Leela and living every moment conscious of Krishna. He is seeing Krishna everywhere, whether it is trees or is ocean or it's car, trucks or buildings. Hilton Towers Prabhupada saw and then made this our towers. Prabhupada saw trucks, Prabhupada made Rath Yatra carts. So anything Prabhupada sees, everything Prabhupada sees from the eyes of how he can use in service of Krishna. That is the Vishuddha Sattva platform of bliss, eternity and knowledge. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So it is already 9:10. So we will not take any questions. Anybody has any questions or any corrections, any comments, I will stand here. You can please ask or correct. I am very happy to accept corrections and improvements. It's a very lofty subject. So please correct me, teach me. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Thank you.